We come to this place for magic.
I watch a lot of movies. Case in point, look at my AMC A-list. It just keeps going and going and going. Along with my addiction to recording the movie title sequences, I don't know why. This series is inspired by YouTuber Carson Ranquist. I love his What I Watch series, so... Stealing, theft! Here's what I watched in January 2023. You know what pissed me off prior to the release of Avatar: The Way of Water? The way everyone was saying, who's going to see Avatar 2? It's been so long. The first one wasn't even good. It's going to flop. It's not even going to make $1 million. Blah, blah, blah. And then it's released, and I, someone who actually enjoyed the first movie and was actually looking forward to the sequel, can't even get the seat I want. And the movie surpasses $2 billion at the box office.
Wait a damn minute.
Someone was lying, and I think it was y'all. Let's talk about Avatar: The Way of Water. I'm just gonna jump around with my thoughts, so hang on tight to the, what's that whale thing called? The Tulkun. So we're back on Pandora many years later, and now Jake Sully and Neytiri have formed a family and are doing everything to stay together because the humans are back and being a menace. What else is new? Let's just get this out the way. I thought Jake's plan to protect his family and the Forest Village tribe was stupid. He acknowledges that the humans will hunt Jake down and kill any Na'vi that try to protect him. So he uproots his family, travels to another Na'vi tribe, and asks this tribe to take him in and protect them? Mind you, these water Na'vi were minding their business at their beachside bungalow. On top of the fact, Jake and family are not familiar with the water Na'vi's ways and practices. So now they have to relearn everything on top of protecting their fortress of a family. Okay, speaking of the family, though I got a little teary-eyed, not gonna lie, I felt they should have let us have more time with just Jake, Neytiri, and the oldest son, Loak, before introducing the other kids, especially if we would be losing him by the end of the film, just to really get us in the feels and make his death more impactful. Especially since the movie ends with his funeral and the flashback memory of him as a kid. Well, let us see more of that then. The movie starts and we're introduced to a litter of kids. I'm like, okay, who's who? What's the interfamily relationships, personalities, quirks, all of that. Jake and Neytiri just got busy after the first movie. With Always Blessing, of course. But like, slow down, like, be calm. Speaking of kids, Spider, let's just say I couldn't get on board. Interesting character, interesting circumstances and storyline, but Spider, y'all know what I'm trying to say. At the end of the movie, when he kept getting away and being a menace on the boat, why didn't they just lock his ass up like they were doing the Na'vi kids? He gets away from the command station once to try and free his siblings. You send him back, and then he crashes your entire ship. Clearly, he's not on your side, dumb generic human army people. I am interested to see where his relationship with somewhat kind of father, Quaritch, goes. But speaking on Quaritch, really, still not dead? Thanks, Spider. I need both Quaritch and Jake dead by the next movie. Yeah, I said it. The fact that Jake had him in an underwater chokehold and didn't snap his neck, he literally said he would never stop coming after you and your fortress of a family. But the amount of times Jake had to pull his kids to the side to give them the talk or discipline them, these kids are not listening to you, Papa Sully. So let's get rid of him and move on to Neytiri as a matriarch, and she can get these kids in line, I'm sure of it. But one thing about her, she's going to have a guttural cry, scream, and a badass fight sequence. I loved when she went full warrior, vengeful mother after the death of Loak had Spider shook. Literally used her bow to bash someone's head in and snap necks. This is a leader, a warrior, a true Na'vi. There's so much more I can discuss about this movie, but I'm excited to see how the kids' stories develop, from Kiri and her connection to Awe and her mom, to Neteyam grappling with the loss of his brother and possible relationship with Sisiri, and to Tiri's small self. Oh my gosh, these names. I'm trying. The Tulkun hunting scene was tragic but well executed. I do always find it annoying when the scientists who are complicit in the inhumane hunting acts are huffing and puffing. The hunters are doing it for the serum and the monetary gain. You're doing it for science. And though one has and will continue to benefit more people, in my opinion, it doesn't make you any better, or give you a pass. So like, stop the holier than thou act. Overall, Avatar: The Way of Water was a solid sequel. The 3D was cool, definitely a marked improvement from the first technically. And I will be looking forward to the third installment, which I've read features the Na'vi's fire tribes. You will never be Avatar: The Last Airbender, but you can keep trying. This movie was so hard to watch for many reasons, but I'm so glad I did. A movie about friendship, masculinity, love, and loss. Close follows two 13-year-old boy best friends, Leo and Remy, who appear to be as thick as thieves and as close as any young pals could be. Leo and Remy would have sleepovers, bike rides to school together in the mornings, and knew each other's families well. They were best buds. But because we can't have nice things, their tender-hearted, admirable, and unbreakable bond is broken by life, and in my opinion, society, and we as a people. Something about movies surrounding young male friendships will get me in the feels every time. Boyhood, The Sandlot, Little Rascals, even Good Boys. Maybe it's related to my past longing for intimate male friendships or a brother, who knows? The catalyst for Leo and Remy's friendship decline is the questioning by their peers over their sexuality and friendship. Some classmates assuming they're romantically involved because of their behavior. Hey, I'll be honest, at the start of the movie, I myself was even a little curious to know what the dynamic was. Did Leo like Remy? Did Remy like Leo? Was there a mutual likeness, or were they just friends? Sorry, I'm still not okay. I started off the movie loving the character of Leo because of the way he adamantly defended their friendship and behavior to naysayers. But sadly, the powers that be would eventually get to him, one of those powers being toxic masculinity. And the rest is history. Remy is the quieter of the two boys. I couldn't always gauge at times how Remy thought about their predicament at school, but when I could. If you know, you know. I wrote in my post-movie notes, I saw Remy as a quiet observer of the world around him without changing himself. Remy definitely did not understand how or why there was a rift in their friendship, and I'm just watching, tearing up like, I know why, Remy, I know why. Remy had my heart, so yeah. I could really talk about this movie for another 30 minutes, so please let's discuss this one in the comments. But to wrap things up, I loved Leo's relationship with his older brother. Lots of powerful, quiet moments between Leo and Remy's mom. The visuals, the walk through the flower fields, the bike rides together and then apart. The bus scene, so good. Child actors never fail to impress me. As I watched this movie, the book that kept coming to mind was The Will to Change, Men, Masculinity, Love by Bell Hooks. A literal guide to why the events of this movie happened, and more importantly, how to fix it. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Close, one of my top movies of the year. I don't care that it's only January. All right, Emily the Criminal. Aubrey Plaza, that's it. That's all I have to say about the movie. Let's move on. But let me start by saying I love a well-paced hour-and-a-half movie, especially a suspenseful thriller. We meet Plaza's character of Emily, we're immediately thrown into her circumstances and how she plans to get out of it, and chaos and criminality ensues. I love that we really didn't get to know much about Emily outside of the fact that she'd had some troubles with the law in the past. She's in dire need of money, and yeah, I mean, like, that's about it. But Emily finds herself in a situation I feel like many of us could see ourselves in. Student loans piling up, rent due, shitty job not paying enough. So when given the opportunity to, yes, commit a crime, but, you know, not like a bad crime like murder, but more like a victimless crime, like, you know, theft and fraud. With a good payday, how could you refuse? But of course, everything comes at a cost, and Emily finds that out real quick. I'm getting my Aubrey Plaza feel, honestly, having recently seen her in season 2 of White Lotus, where she killed it. Her staple, like, emotionless deadpan was used very well here, in the sense we knew that she was not one to be fucked with, and she would, like, do what she had to do to come out on top, and come out on top she did. The criminal acts at the focus of this movie were actually pretty interesting. They were stealing people's credit card information, manufacturing real credit cards with said information, purchasing expensive goods, and then reselling it for profit. I mean, like, Emily was stressing me out though. Like, she would, like, be told specific instructions of things not to do and then immediately would completely disregard that and do it anyways. Ma'am, listen. I saw that one scene at Emily's apartment coming a mile away. Like, people are crazy. The movie also stars Theo Rossi, who did great in his role, but I always find it interesting when people are cast to play a character from a certain region, but the actor themselves isn't from there. But that's the racially ambiguous casting for you. The movie overall was suspenseful. You're just waiting for shit to catch up to Emily, and by the last act, you're like, oh shit, this can't end well. And well, let's just say Emily's about that life. But Emily the Criminal, definitely highly recommend. All right, Megan. First and foremost, in my opinion, Megan is not a horror thriller, but rather a comedy. Tell me you didn't laugh when Megan looked disheveled from that dog attack, or when she was running in the woods on all fours, or the singing. You know the singing I'm talking about.
Bulletproof, nothing to lose. No, my bad, I'm sorry.
Megan tells the story of roboticist Gemma, played by Allison Williams, who, after becoming the caretaker of her niece Katie, decides to give her a new creation, an artificial intelligence doll companion to help with the grief of losing her parents, and the rest is history. Megan is mama now. The publicity around this movie felt like a fever dream. The Megan hallway dance scene from the trailer went viral months before the movie came out, and baby, they ran all the way to the bank with it. Megan performances everywhere for everyone. The premise was simple. Robot doll best friend starts as best toy ever. Robot doll becomes sentient and becomes evil. I thought the kills were okay for a PG-13 movie, but imagine if this was rated R. I was expecting them to be more brutal, but I might be spoiled though coming off of Chucky season 2. I mean, Chucky, she could never replace you, okay? I thought Violet McGraw as Katie was excellent. Another great child acting performance. Her tantrums were the perfect reminder of why I don't want kids. Well, right now. The only other thing that stood out to me was Gemma's boss, David, and not in a good way. But the movie definitely sets up a sequel in a few ways. So we'll be seeing Megan again soon.
It's insane, right?
I'm just like you, you're just like me. There's somewhere else we'd rather be. Don't worry about why I watched this movie. Just know that I watched it and I quite enjoyed it. Going into it, I was familiar with The Princess and the Pauper Tale, so I was like, okay, what's the Barbie spin on it? And there was some creative choices. There were a few catchy songs. I love the pet sidekicks. The villain, Preminger, was a clown for thinking he was going to, one, marry Princess Annalise. And then, when that plan goes haywire, marry the queen instead, sir, jail. I did like at the end, though, when Princess Annalise has her fairy tale wedding to Julian, and Erica has the option to either marry Prince Dominic, but she declines to go off and have a career singing across the globe or whatever. And then 5 minutes later, she's like, okay, enough of that. Let's get married. The fact there's like 80 billion of these Barbie movies, you know what? I'm not mad at it. I'm just like you, you're just like me. There's somewhere else we'd rather be. It wasn't too far into this movie when a man from the government census came in his modern day car to take the population census, and I was like, what time period is this? Color me shocked to discover the film Woman Talking is based on true events from 2010. What?
We know that we are bruised and infected and pregnant, and some of us are dead.
Woman Talking is just that, a group of women from an isolated religious colony discussing whether or not to leave, fight, or stay in the community once they discover that the men of their community have been drugging and R-wording them for years and blaming it on supernatural occurrences. Men, trash. You would think the answer is simple. The men have been abusive, predatory R-words. They should leave. End of discussion. But then the questions start. Where will they go? Do their children go with them? If so, only their daughters? What about their sons? How will the men react? Will leaving or fighting be God ordained? Endless questions and enough questions and discussion to fill out the hour 45-minute runtime. Standout performances from the woman-led cast. Jessie Buckley's performance alone. I too have been a good student. Phew, when she dropped that line. Chills. Chills. The movie was sure not to be too gratuitous in showing the acts of R-word and violence against these women, choosing to rather show brief flashbacks of the after devastation. Ben Whishaw, the voice of Paddington, yes, that's my title for him, I love Paddington, plays the character of August, the school teacher for the boys of the community, and was here as really like the only man in the movie. Thankfully, he's one of the good ones, helping the lady to take the meeting's minutes since they can't, read or write, and advise when permitted to on their ordeal. I loved his gentle nature and his love/crush on Ona, played by Rooney Mara. So cute. I'll definitely say this movie isn't for everyone, even though I feel like it should be, because it really, like, if you're looking for something more like action or like a lot of set pieces or just like something more than literally people sitting around talking, discussing something, then you might not enjoy this movie. But I think the conversations that were being had were really important ones, and it was kind of cool to see them make it into a movie, if that makes sense, because this definitely feels like it could be a play if it hasn't been already, but it just felt cool to see it on the big screen. So overall, I really like this movie and I highly recommend it. But not related to the movie, but I always find it funny when I go to see movies like this, especially by myself, and the majority like white older audience is looking at me like I'm in the wrong theater. Like, no, I'm here to see this movie too. I'm a cinephile of sorts. Prior to seeing The Whale, all I heard was the whale, the whale, the whale, Brendan Fraser's return to Hollywood, standing ovations at film festivals, all the works. So finally, I went to see it. The Whale follows Brendan Fraser's Charlie, a reclusive and unhealthy English teacher who hides out in his flat and eats his way to death. He is desperate to reconnect with his teenage daughter, Ellie, played by Sadie Sink, for a last chance at redemption. I always wondered, how does someone end up this way? And I think for Charlie, it was a mix of things. His divorce from his wife, strained non-existent relationship with his only child, loss of his LGBT true love and partner, depression, and hey, maybe his general love of food. Outside of the spectacle of Fraser working that fat suit, I thought the relationships were the highlight for me, especially between Charlie and Hung Chao's character of Liz. So Liz is Charlie's friend, but also a nurse who visits Charlie to check in and also take care of him the best that she can. You can tell she cares for him and wants him to get well. We come to find out Liz is a sister of Charlie's deceased partner who committed suicide due to religious struggles, which adds even a more interesting dynamic to the relationship. I was very annoyed to find out Charlie was sitting on a pile of money, none of which he ever thought to give to Liz, even after all the care she had given him, but rather kept saying it was for Ellie. I felt Liz's frustration and hurt in that moment because she was better than me. And then we have Charlie's relationship with his daughter Ellie. Now Ellie, as she is depicted for most of this movie, is everything I find annoying about teens. Ellie's petulance, meanness, and just general dislike for Charlie was on full display here. And it would be easy to write her off as like a stupid annoying kid, but I had to ask myself why she was the way she was, and if this could be healed through Charlie's work to mend the relationship and her willingness to forgive. We also have a young missionary boy, Thomas, who happens upon Charlie in his current state and seeks to quote-unquote save him so he can see heaven or something like that, much to everyone's annoyance. Ellie's mother and Charlie's ex-wife Mary appears briefly, and whereas Mary has given up on Ellie for reasons some will find justifiable, Charlie remains hopeful she can be saved, and their conversation surrounding that, just chef's kiss. I know I have more to say about this movie, but now that it's been a minute since seeing it, my memory and thoughts surrounding this movie fail me, like a tide that must leave the sand and return to the sea. I think Charlie would have liked that comparison. Overall, The Whale is an interesting watch, and it is worth a watch for its simple premise, setting, and of course, Brendan Fraser. In the movie aptly titled Plane, we have seasoned pilot Brody Torrance, played by Gerard Butler, who after saving his flight from bad weather, crash land on a war-torn island where the island's rebel militia turned out to be even more dangerous than the lightning in the sky. I enjoyed this movie for what it was. Tense when it needed to be, chaotic at times, gunfights, fistfights, death, you know, all that. But where was the character development for anyone besides pilot Brody? And even his wasn't much, outside of having a daughter he wanted to get home to. This movie also stars Mike Coulter portraying the character of Lewis, an accused murderer being transported by the FBI on the aircraft. One thing leads to another, and Pilot Brody and Lewis have to like team up to save the day. But outside of Coulter's sweaty, glistening, big, brown, chiseled arms that probably get more screen time than him, anywho, we never have a conversation between the two discussing whether or not Lewis actually killed anyone, and if so, why. If he has a family, does he have military experience? Because the way he was killing people and knew how to work his way around these military-grade guns, Pilot Brody would just like look at him but say nothing. Huh? I will say I wasn't mad at what Lewis did at the end though. Yep. Do what you gotta do. Yep. Not mad at it.
I like this guy.
And then we have the island's militia, our antagonists. So cartoonish and stereotypical, we don't know what political strife has caused them to rebel against their government, why they're hostile toward Americans or foreigners, nothing. Or really like what even their plan was for the plane's passengers once they had them hostage, like maybe ransom? I don't know. We do get this one scene of seeing a recording of the militia killing Christian missionaries, so I guess like we have our answer. Pacific Islander militia bad, white pilot savior good, black strong man accused of murder, question mark, question mark, question mark. We also have Tony Goldwyn getting his President Fits on here. I can only see him as that character. I feel like that's part of the curse of being on a hit TV show with such a good character, but you know, he'll be okay. But overall, I enjoyed this movie. I mean, I like action movies like this set in different settings because next time I get on a plane, I'll be like, what if I was in this situation? What would I do? But that's Plane. Alice Darling. So this was my second movie watch in my double feature, coming off of the more suspenseful action movie Plane to a more quieter indie film starring Anna Kendrick. I don't know how to talk about this movie as someone who has never experienced intimate partner violence, and not that that's a qualifier to discuss this movie, but I would never want to like negate someone's feelings or experiences. But if I'm being honest, I just felt like this movie was not showing or telling us anything new when it came to domestic abuse. In Alice Darling, we meet Alice, who is in a psychologically abusive relationship with her boyfriend Simon, and it's through a getaway trip vacation with friends Sophie and Tess we see her hope to overcome and overpower this ordeal. Okay, well, now that I'm thinking about it more, it is interesting that this movie wasn't the standard physically abusive male partner, battered woman dynamic, but rather psychological torment. The way Simon would gaslight Alice, have her questioning herself and behaviors, controlling her movements and interactions, but worst of all, in my opinion, putting up a good front in front of company.
I didn't know you were coming.
Well, I'm sure Alice will explain it all later.
I see you, Simon. I see you. We see the discomfort Alice has in most of these situations, but she mostly puts on a brave face in public before receding to private bathrooms to pull out her hair. A lot. But also shout out to Wunmi Mosaku. I loved her character of Sophie and the way she bravely stood up, showed up, and defended her friend. Her character was one I don't feel would typically go to a darker skinned black actress, so that put a smile on my face. I'm glad I saw it. It was well paced, and I would definitely check it out if you're a fan of Anna Kendrick. I decided to watch the Scream movies for the first time, having never seen them upon original release. The first Scream, iconic. I'm feeling a little woozy here. Scream 2, a worthy sequel. Poor Maureen didn't even want to see the damn movie in the first place. I love the college campus setting. I had my suspicions, but was never certain on who Ghostface was. And then we arrive at Scream 3, and something was lost in translation because what? I did somewhat like the Hollywood setting for the third film, but it just did not work for me overall. The new characters, the Ghostface reveal, just no bueno. Then I watched Scream 4, and I was like, okay, we might have something here. We're back in Woodsboro, and Sydney and Dewey and Gil are all here, and we're back in Woodsboro. Honestly, the Ghostface reveal of each movie really is the final test of whether I'm going to end the movie liking it or loving it, and Scream 4's reveal, and I thought Hayden Panettiere's character in Scream 4 died, but then I saw a trailer for Scream 6 that's coming out soon, and I see her in it. And I haven't watched Scream 5 yet, but I swear she died in Scream 4. Okay, whatever. Well, I guess I'll find out soon enough. But anyways, I'm going to watch Scream 5 soon, and then I'll be in theaters in real time for Scream 6. And I hate to be that person, but nothing, in my opinion, at this point will live up to the first two Screams, and that's okay, I guess. It pains me to say this, but the entire time I was watching I Wanna Dance with Somebody, I was just thinking, Lifetime movie, Lifetime movie, Lifetime movie. And look, there's nothing wrong with Lifetime movies, but there is a certain quality to them, you know, sometimes that differentiates them from a theater release blockbuster, so to speak. I've had this issue with musical artist biopics for a while now, but it just keeps happening. It's either one, it's made by the artist's estate, so they'll gloss over negative aspects of the person's life, or it's paint by numbers, okay? Stay with it. Childhood talent, discovered by record label, rise to stardom, glitz and glam, love interest, overworked, love interest too involved or corrupt, family concern, drug usage, decline in stardom, fall from grace, near-death experience, road to recovery, or unfortunately, death. You would think with how many acclaimed musical artists have similar stories, they would be able to learn from each other. But you know, we're all human, and I could only imagine the things they've had to go through and endure for their talent. But you know, watching movie after movie of this type, it already put me in kind of a mood, because if you're not going to tell it as it is or was, why am I sitting here for almost 3 hours to see things I already know or can read on Wikipedia? Looking at you, Elvis. I saw Judy, the Judy Garland biopic, in theaters a few years ago, and at least that was like a slice of life towards the end of her career after all the acclaim. So that was a new, more interesting perspective. At the end of that movie, the sniffling and tears in that audience. Okay, let me get off the movie biopic tangent and actually talk about Whitney Houston's I Wanna Dance with Somebody. In terms of this movie, I think Naomi Ackie did an amazing job portraying the late Whitney Houston. The way she embodied Houston for many performances this movie gives us, the looks, the hairstyles, the acting, of course, great job. I also like that they really feature the Robin-Whitney relationship and how she navigated that with the public as well as her family. This movie was no easy feat, as the Whitney Houston was the voice, so I won't be too hard on it. I liked it for what it was. Another biopic. As someone who goes to the movies a lot, we've established this, okay? Go back to the intro. Watching The Fabelmans and seeing how a young Steven Spielberg fell in love with movie making, and with that love started on his own filmmaking journey, was just really cool to watch. The Fabelman follows Sammy Fabelman, who after seeing The Greatest Show on Earth with his parents, began on his own movie making journey. I love seeing Sammy direct and create his short films, and the way he used his creative direction to create really cool shots, special effects on a budget, and overall really great films. The fake blood, the battlefield explosions, the practical use of dead extras from one scene to the next, even his direction of his actor friends and sisters starring in his films, chef's kiss. Now let's get to the mess of the Fabelmans family. Mama Fabelman, you are no good, but also Benny, Papa Fabelman's best friend, trash. They were both a little too close for comfort for my liking. The scene of Sammy putting together the short film for his mom and his discovery of her infidelity was chef's kiss. The quiet whispers, the insider jokes, the touches and glances when no one was looking. Once Sammy does finally let the mom in on what he knows through the film he put together, and she has to sit with his discovery, heartbreak. Especially since Mama Fabelman was such a strong supporter of Sammy's filmmaking. That same filmmaking would be the one that led to the discovery of her infidelity. You hate to see it. I also like getting to see Sammy at school after moving to the West Coast and seeing the anti-Semitism and bullying he faced and how he handled it. I made you look like you could fly. I know that's right, Sammy. The art of movie making.
I have a monkey at home that's smarter than you! You dumb, anti-Semitic asshole!
And
I thought Gabriel LaBelle did a bang-up job in the lead role. Apparently, Mr. Stevens had some of his own infidelity in his own life, so like mother, like son, right? But if you love the art of filmmaking, I would definitely check out The Fabelmans. Babylon, Babylon, Babylon. I feel like it takes a certain kind of person to like a movie like this. I thought there were a few great moments in this movie that were unfortunately largely overshadowed by spectacles. So I'm just going to talk about those moments in particular that I enjoyed and am still thinking about. The elephant shitting all over the person's face in the first 5 minutes. Oh my goodness, Oscar worthy. No, I'm just kidding. The entire sequence in the desert with Margot Robbie's Nellie being thrust into a more prominent role than she planned for and killing it with that one tear take, plus the way it looks in black and white, and a few sets down you have Brad Pitt's Jack Conrad sunset kiss, butterfly landing on his shoulder with the extras fighting in the background. Loved it. Movie magic. Of course, we as viewers would typically never see all the chaos that went into getting these shots, so seeing it here in Babylon was a beauty. I thought Jovan Adepo's character of jazz musician Sidney Palmer was also very interesting. Chazelle loves his jazz. Palmer goes from playing with the jazz band as background music to the stars to being the featured act. The success coming with fame and riches, but also this. Yeah. Amazing acting on Adepo's part. Not related, why did I have to scroll this far down the cast list to find an actor featured on the poster? Not a strike against the movie, but more so Google, but you know, still. Now, the TV sitcom scene that takes place about a third way through the movie and is 10 minutes of on-set chaos, I was here for it. Quiet on the mother set. I just knew what was going to happen to that poor man in that hot box. I felt everyone's frustration here. Nelly as the actor, the sound guy, the director, the videographer, the producer, stressful. They finally get a good take, they celebrate, and then...
Who wants to see me fight a fucking snake?
Bitch, you better be joking.
We also have Jean Smart's character of columnist Eleanor St. John delivering a brutally harsh but truthful monologue to Brad Pitt's Jack Conrad that I feel like everyone in the performing arts or Hollywood as a whole needs to hear. Here today, gone tomorrow. Your star will only shine for so long, but at least from an actor's perspective, the work you leave behind will continue on. And I've always thought about this idea, so to see it realized here was great, honestly. Unfortunately, not so great for Jack Conrad, who wasn't ready to hear this and leads to quite the unsettling, but well-directed and shot goodbye scenes for his character. Though it seemed out of place, and without this storyline, the movie could have been a solid 30 minutes shorter, I thought Tobey Maguire's James McKay gambling underground devilish cult thing was creepy and interesting, but not well placed in this movie. Like, was this messaging on the secrets of Hollywood and how they really get down? Because if so, I want no parts. No parts. The way Manny kept going further into that mine, and because of Nelly... Speaking of Nelly, I liked Manny and Nelly's meet cute at the start of the movie, how Nelly had big dreams and Manny wanted to see Nelly win as well as himself, but at a certain point it just got to be tiresome. You can't help those who don't want to help themselves. Manny, let Nelly, your white damsel in distress, go. I would like to say I'm a fan of Damien Chazelle, having enjoyed La La Land and loving Whiplash, one of my favorite movies. I heard some hints of La La Land in the score. I was like, okay. Overall, I wouldn't say Babylon was great, but it was interesting. And interesting could be viewed as bad or good. So, yeah. So that wraps up what I watched in January of 2023. I'm actually really excited to continue this series now because I watched so many movies and will continue to do so. And now I feel like I actually have somewhere where I can talk about them in a little more depth than I would normally. By the time you're seeing this, it's probably already like mid-February, but you know what? This is a work in progress. But anyways, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you leave a like, a comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.